Venus dominates the night sky with deceptive beauty. Brighter than any star, it reflects sunlight through thick clouds that conceal a planet transformed beyond recognition. From afar, it looks serene, almost inviting. But beneath that glow lies a world so extreme that no human has ever survived more than moments within its grasp. For generations, Venus represented failure, a reminder that planets, even those similar to Earth, can fall victim to runaway climate processes. It was studied not as a destination, but as a warning, a planetary tomb sealed beneath clouds of acid and heat. And yet, the closer we look, the more Venus resists simple categorization. High above its surface exists a narrow region where the planet briefly relents. A place where temperatures soften, pressure stabilizes, and gravity feels familiar. A place where survival is no longer impossible. Floating cities on Venus are not born from optimism alone. They are born from constraint. From the realization that if humanity is to survive beyond Earth, it must learn to live where conditions are least hostile, not where dreams are most romantic. Venus and Earth began as near twins, similar mass, similar size, similar ingredients. Yet one became a cradle for life, while the other descended into inferno. The difference was not dramatic at first. It was incremental, subtle, and slow. As solar radiation increased, Venus's oceans began to evaporate. Water vapor trapped heat. Heat created more vapor. Feedback fed feedback until equilibrium shattered. Carbon dioxide accumulated unchecked. Clouds thickened. Surface temperatures soared. What makes Venus terrifying is not its extremity, but its plausibility. It demonstrates that planetary climates can collapse permanently. There is no reset button, no natural recovery. Venus does not just warn us about other planets, it warns us about ourselves. Any human presence there would exist under the shadow of this lesson. Survival depends not on domination, but restraint. Between 50 and 60 kilometers above Venus's surface lies a band of atmospheric calm, a fragile equilibrium zone suspended between hell and vacuum. Here, temperatures hover around those of a warm Earth day. Atmospheric pressure approximates what human lungs evolved to endure. Radiation levels drop to survivable thresholds. This region exists because Venus's atmosphere is extraordinarily dense. Heat trapped near the surface dissipates with altitude, creating a thermal gradient that briefly intersects with human tolerance. It is not a paradise, but it is survivable. Most remarkably, the physics of buoyancy favors human presence. Oxygen and nitrogen are lighter than carbon dioxide. A sealed habitat filled with breathable air would float automatically, requiring no hydrogen or helium. Gravity becomes an ally rather than an enemy. In no other place beyond Earth does nature offer such an accidental refuge. A floating Venusian city would not be built, it would be balanced. No foundations, no bedrock, only equilibrium between lift, mass, and atmospheric flow. These habitats would resemble vast airborne organisms, adapting continuously to their environment. Their outer shells would be layered with acid-resistant materials, capable of deflecting sulfuric aerosols and self-repairing microfractures. Internal pressure systems would maintain buoyancy. Modular architecture would allow sections to detach, replace, or reconfigure as needed. Power would come primarily from solar energy. Venus receives more sunlight than Earth, and above the densest clouds, solar panels could harvest energy with remarkable efficiency. Energy abundance would contrast sharply with the fragility of life support. Inside these cities, gravity would feel normal. Water would flow naturally. Fire would burn. Children could grow without skeletal degradation. In purely physical terms, Venus's skies offer something Mars never can: familiarity. Yet Venus offers no stillness. The atmosphere rotates faster than the planet itself, carrying floating cities around the globe in mere days. Residents would live in constant motion, circumnavigating Venus again and again beneath a filtered sun. There would be no seasons, no geography, no landmarks beyond cloud formations that never resolve into solid ground. Orientation would be psychological rather than spatial. The concept of place would dissolve. Every aspect of life would depend on systems that cannot fail. There would be no emergency evacuation, no stepping outside to escape confinement. The boundary between life and death would be measured in millimeters of hull thickness. This is where utopia begins to resemble confinement. Venus's clouds are chemically active, dynamic, and surprisingly complex. Within them exist droplets of sulfuric acid, trace gases, and unexplained chemical gradients that defy easy explanation. The controversial detection of phosphine, a gas associated with biological processes on Earth, has reopened debate about life in Venus's atmosphere. While non-biological explanations are likely, the possibility remains tantalizing. If microbial life exists here, it would exist exactly where humans propose to live. Life adapted to acidity, desiccation, and chemical scarcity. Studying such organisms would force biology to redefine its boundaries. Human cities in Venus's clouds may not arrive alone. They may enter an ecosystem older than humanity itself. Mars captures imagination because it offers land, horizons, a place to walk. But Mars is unforgiving to the human body. Low gravity weakens bones. Thin atmosphere exposes radiation. Extreme cold demands constant energy input. Venus, by contrast, offers gravity nearly identical to Earth's. It offers natural shielding from cosmic radiation. It offers pressure that does not require massive containment. The trade is psychological rather than physical. Mars tests the body. Venus tests the mind. Choosing Venus over Mars is choosing comfort over freedom, or perhaps choosing sustainability over symbolism. A floating city has no borders, no territory, no expansion outward, only inward. Growth becomes a question of density, not land. Conflict cannot be resolved by migration. Governance becomes unavoidable. Who would control these cities? Who would decide who gets to live there? Would Venus become a destination for elites, scientists, or those with nothing left to lose? In a sealed environment, social inequality becomes existential. Resource allocation is not abstract, it is survival. Every decision carries weight. Every mistake compounds. Venusian society would not be shaped by nature, but by ethics. Floating cities on Venus exist at the intersection of hope and fear. They represent humanity's ability to adapt rather than conquer, to float rather than stand, to survive without claiming. Above a world that cannot be touched, humanity may one day drift endlessly beneath golden clouds, protected, isolated, and alive. Whether that existence becomes liberation or confinement will depend not on Venus's atmosphere, but on our values. Venus offers us no illusion of control, only balance, only dependence, only survival. And perhaps that is the most honest future space has to offer.